So my first video on the channel with Wolverine and Homelander did really well, and you guys really seem to enjoy it, which I appreciate a lot. Which is why in this video, I wanted to go back into the boys verse and try and scale the actual boys crew and put him up against the merc with a mouth, Deadpool, just so he gets his time on the channel. When it comes to the boys universe, I only really see people talking about Homelander or the Seven, and never really talking about Butcher or the rest of the crew. I thought this would be more of an interesting matchup since Deadpool and Wolverine is officially out now, and we can actually talk about the feats in the movie, as well as going over some of the new stuff we see in season 4. As for the versions of the characters we're going to be using in this matchup, Deadpool will be his normal self as we see in the movies, with the adamantium katanas and weapons we see in Deadpool and Wolverine that he gets at the beginning of the film. For the boys crew, the crew changes drastically throughout each season of the show, so for this video, we are going to be using the season 4 variants of these characters, as well as giving them temp V, so they're at their max power. So this means Huey will have access to the powers he had in season 3 where he can teleport, and although this does not make sense timeline wise, Butcher will have both the lasers and tentacle powers that he has in season 3 and season 4 respectively, so just treat him like a composite Butcher, I guess. So let's set up the scene. Let's say Deadpool travels to the boys universe and uses a temp pad or something and starts causing collateral damage to the city. The boys catch wind of this and they decide to try and take him out, viewing Deadpool as just another generic soup that must be brought to justice, which in this case means murder. So with all this established, could the boys take out Deadpool as a group? Or could each of the members take on the merc with a mouth one-on-one? Let's find out. Starting off with Deadpool, I think his most impressive ability would be his healing factor, similar to the Wolverine. In the first Deadpool movie, Wade was being tortured inside a mutant facility to unlock his mutant genes. One of these methods was trapping Wade inside a capsule that cut off his oxygen supply to suffocate him, causing the mutant gene inside his body to awaken. To escape this factory, he set the capsule on fire, which caused a massive explosion, allowing him to escape. This feat would put him at around small building level as he took the explosion point blank while weakened and oxygen deprived. There's also other feats such as Deadpool jumping off buildings, being mauled by polar bears at the zoo and coming out completely fine. But I think the best feat we see from him would be him and Logan surviving the Time Ripper machine, a device capable of wiping out entire timelines and universes. Now I'm not going to say anything crazy, like Deadpool's healing factor has universe levels of durability, as even I think that's a bit absurd, but we do hear from Mr. Paradox himself saying that anyone who interacts with the matter and antimatter streams would be atomized into nothing. This level of energy would require 1.5 megatons of TNT, or enough to destroy a small city, meaning Deadpool's healing factor would give him small city levels of durability, as well as matter resistance too. Next, I want to briefly go over his combat speed and reaction speed. Deadpool, when fighting Cable in the second movie, was able to cut bullets at close range with his katana, a feat calced to be at Mach 6, or 6 times the speed of sound. I think this is pretty consistent as even the pre-retcon Deadpool was able to casually do this feat as well. As for his attack potency, although it's not stated that Deadpool has super strength, he has clearly displayed feats that put him at wall level to building with just his physical strength, such as breaking a man's neck with his legs, being able to kick Ajax across a couple feet, and soloing a small group of TVA agents by himself with the adamantium skeleton of 2017 Logan, and even taking punches from the Hulk himself, which is durability, but whatever. The other thing I want to go over is how strong adamantium is as a substance, which is something I didn't really go over in the Wolverine and Homelander video. In the X-Men movies, we're basically told that adamantium is basically unbreakable and the hardest substance on the planet. But is this hyperbole by the characters, and would this be a no limits fallacy? No. Adamantium as a substance has planetary levels of durability. As we see in the Eternals, the celestial bodies are made up of the same material. This is significant as the Celestials being born causes planets to explode, with the adamantium still attacked. So when characters say that adamantium is the strongest and hardest material on the earth, they're not kidding. This metal can literally survive planet busting levels of attacks, meaning Deadpool with the adamantium katanas can basically cut through anything, making it sort of like a hacks ability. But wait a minute, if we're talking about hacks, why don't I talk about Deadpool's ability to break the fourth wall? The reason is because I don't think it will be that important in this matchup, since Deadpool doesn't really do anything impressive with these abilities, and it's mainly just used for comedic effect to wink at the audience to reference something. So he doesn't have any crazy Toon Force feats where characters can warp reality and, destroy the universe. So for these reasons, I don't think it'll be that helpful in this matchup. So with Deadpool covered, would the boys be able to take down a threat such as this? When it comes to scaling the boys, there's only 4 relevant members that we need to talk about. That being Kimiko, Huey, Starlight, and Butcher, as Frenchie and Mother's Milk are basically fodder when including them in a matchup such as this. Huey would obviously be the weakest out of the soup-enhanced individuals of the group. He does have some impressive feats like being able to punch through people with brute strength and penetrate them, but due to a lack of combat experience and speed feats, it's unlikely he will be able to do anything to Deadpool by himself. I can only act as support with his teleportation ability. Kimiko and Starlight should be similar in terms of physical combat and speed. However, Starlight would be the most powerful soup out of the two, since she can now fly. This was calculated to be around subsonic, and this would also apply to our combat and reaction speed as well. In terms of attack potency and durability, they should also be around building level as well, since they are both relative and scale above characters like Lamplighter, who was able to melt a hole through a metal door, which would require around building levels of AP. However, you can scale Annie higher due to the fact that she was able to knock down Soldier Boy with her light blast. In terms of durability, Kimiko is clearly more durable than Starlight with her healing and regeneration, with it being sorta similar to Deadpool in the first movie, being able to grow back limbs and heal from minor cut and stab wounds over long periods of time. There's also feats of Kimiko surviving fatal blows from Stormfront and A-Train. Her combat speed and reaction speed should be in the same range as Starlight's as well, being subsonic too. And of course, we saved the best for last. Butcher is by far the most powerful and dangerous character in the boys' crew when amped with Temp V, or Compound V, already scaling above characters like Starlight and Kimiko, and even when he was amped with Temp V, he was able to go toe to toe with characters such as Soldier Boy and Homelander, two of the most powerful soups in the verse, putting Butcher quite reasonably in the city block ranges of power and durability, if he were to scale from Homelander's chemical plant explosion feat from the boys' Diabolical. And because of this, Butcher should also scale to Homelander and Soldier Boy's combat speed, being in the hypersonic ranges of combat speed and reactions. If we were to also scale from Homelander's C4 explosion feat from Season 1. When enhanced with Temp V and Compound V, Butcher gains 2 new abilities, that being his heat vision from Season 3 and the power he got when it was fused with his tumor in Season 4. Starting off with the laser vision, it should be relative to Homelander's laser vision as well, which was able to cut through airplanes like butter, a temperature that would reach around 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit, making Butcher's heat vision also around this same temperature as well. His tentacle powers are no joke either, since these tentacles are able to rip Victoria Newman in half. This is impressive as she does have some degree of invulnerability, as she was able to briefly tank Homelander's heat vision. So with most of the core members of the boys covered, how will they fare against Deadpool? So I think in a random encounter where the boys have to fight Deadpool one-on-one, I honestly think that Deadpool has the advantage in most of these matchups and can win with mid difficulty, except for maybe Butcher with high difficulty. But let's break down each of these matchups. Frenchie and Mother's Milk are just normal humans, so Deadpool really shouldn't have a problem with any of these two. Even with Frenchie's advanced knowledge in chemistry, it's unlikely he'll be able to cook up something that could kill Deadpool, since in the first Deadpool movie, it's implied that no illness or disease could kill him after he emerges from the rubble of the mutant factory. The same thing could be said about Huey. Deadpool would honestly have no problems dealing with him, even if Huey did something crazy like teleport him high above the sky and drop him like Azazel did in First Class. Deadpool has survived high drops before and would recover quickly. And trying to fight with Wade up close would be suicide for him, since Deadpool is a way better fighter. If he did try to punch or impale him, Deadpool could easily cut his head clean off. Kimiko and Deadpool are quite relative to each other when it comes to their physical power and regenerative abilities. Although I still think Deadpool still takes this due to him having higher scaling with his antimatter feat and faster combat reactions, being able to cut bullets. Kimiko, although having the advantage in strength, would not be able to do anything against the adamantium katanas that would cut straight through her. Not killing her, but incapacitating her nonetheless. Starlight and Deadpool would have similar levels of reasoning as well. Starlight is stronger, but Deadpool is more skilled, faster, and has hacks on his side with the katanas. The only difference here is that she can fly and she can shoot projectiles at weight, allowing her to keep her distance. But even if she does keep her distance, she's eventually gonna have to engage and fight up close when she finds out that her light beams are not gonna do anything to permanently put him down. In which case, if they were to fight one-on-one, Deadpool would easily be able to defeat her. Now, Butcher vs Deadpool is where the matchup becomes a little bit tricky. Both are hypersonic in terms of combat and reaction speeds, and Butcher has many win conditions to mobilize Deadpool, such as lasering Deadpool's limbs off and tearing his body apart, like how Juggernaut did him in Deadpool 2, which would put him out for good. Even with the antimatter feat, Deadpool can still be physically overpowered and torn apart to stop him from fighting. But don't count Deadpool out just yet. Deadpool still has the adamantium katanas that would allow him to block Butcher's heat vision, as well as cutting up the tentacles, giving him an opening to kill Butcher, albeit with very high difficulty. Or if you want to give Deadpool the relativistic reaction speed scaling from X-Men Origins where Wolverine blocks light beams, then Deadpool should have no problems dealing with Butcher. Now if the boys were together, had some prep time, and jumped Deadpool all together, I could honestly see them handling Deadpool in their verse. As if they were to jump Deadpool all at once, he would have a pretty hard time dealing with multiple super beings at once, giving them the opportunity to mutilate Deadpool and separate his body parts to incapacitate him. But what do you guys think? Was I downplaying the boys too hard, or do you think the scaling for Deadpool was wrong in any way? Please leave your thoughts in the comments, and make sure to subscribe as well, as I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. If you made it to the end, thank you, and I'll see you again soon.